You know, in between all of the 50-lap races and the endurance races I've been doing lately, it's been a while since I've just rocked up to a team sport track on a practice session and just hit the track for a little bit of fun. I also apparently forgot how chaotic they can be. And my most recent visit to the newly refurbished Team Sport Stoke were a fun, if not hectic, reminder of that. No. Welcome to Perico Karting. And today, I'm in the mix on a packed practice session at a low-traction electric track. This should be fun. On the topic of the refurbishment, a lot of Team Sport Stoke's changes are cosmetic, or generally just there to allow for the operation of the combat carts, such as these arrows here dangling from the ceiling. But never underestimate just what a fresh coat of paint can do for a place like this. On the topic of paint actually, the biggest change to the track is the addition of grip paint in the part of the track next to the pit straight right here, and you would not believe how much this affects the entire feel of your lap. Still, I'd have to experience that for myself, so I decided to hop onto a full 3-for-2 session as a little bit of overtake practice and, you know, to add to the fun of it. But before we pull out of the pits, I'd like to talk about something, if you'll indulge me for a moment. I'd like to tell you about the Karting Handbook. The Karting Handbook is an online course designed to help you get the most out of your rental kart racing, presented in the form of concise but very detailed video lessons which cover things ranging from the basics, like how to learn a new track, to the more fiddly bits like managing understeer and oversteer, weight transfer, how to handle when you've been given a bad kart, stuff like that. The course has been a big help to me personally so far, teaching me things I hadn't even considered before, like, for example, the importance of note-taking and how to best do it to get the most out of your sessions. These are even my notes from the session you're about to watch. And I've got a treat for you. If you purchase access to the course using code PERICO, you'll get 30% off at checkout, and you'll have lifetime access to the course, including any and all additions, changes, and revisions to it. So if you're looking to take rental karting just that little bit further, I can highly recommend the course. Anyway, thanks for listening. You're a great listener, I love that about you. But anyway, let's just hit the track and see what's going on. And the light goes green, and let's go racing. Now, there's not a whole lot of change on the upper area of the track, except for purely cosmetic things, so I just get an inside overtake done through the very first corner right there, and then I start really gaining on this big pack of people who are driving ridiculously slowly, so I cut through the inside of that individual. I considered the outside overtake on this guy, but then I don't feel like there's enough room and I don't want to risk a crash. And it's through this corner that I noticed the grip is actually a lot better than the last time I came here. And then I hit the grip paint. You'll notice I had such a surge of speed, I had to swerve to avoid the guy in front of me. I come around this corner, and someone has somehow decided to stop on the ramp, which means they have absolutely no hope of getting moving again, which of course means the inevitable in team sport practice sessions, a red flag.
Well, we made it one lap into the session. Oh boy.
But eventually the lights go back green again, and I get a better reaction than the guy on my inside right here, and he kind of just yields and lets me go by. So now it's time to chase after these two. This down ramp is still proving to be a bit of a problem for me, but I will learn how to take that bit by bit. I get a horrendous snap of oversteer going through the corner there, and then before I can even comprehend what just happened, we've got another red flag.
It's still slippy, but grippier.
That's my comments on how rubbered up the track has become since I last raced here. It's actually a lovely hybrid between slippery and grippery, which makes no sense, and you should not take my word for what I just said. Eventually, I'm released back into the fray, and unlike the guy in front of me here, I decided to dip a couple wheels onto the grip paint and look at how much speed I get through here. But because I'm too hyper-fixated on the guy, I completely miss the apex through that corner, but he leaves just enough of a space for me to squeeze straight through. Now, let's try and catch up someone else. Here we come barreling down the down ramp, just kind of looking for anyone to catch up to, really. There's a big pack straight ahead of us, and as I'm rounding this corner, it's another red flag. I'm starting to remember why I didn't come to these sessions anymore. No matter, let's just get moving again. I get a better reaction than the guy in front of me, again, who's still coasting at yellow speeds, but he leaves his inside wide open for the restart, and everyone's just still sort of cruising at yellow kart pace. Now pay attention to this guy here. This guy was the fastest guy on track, and he was my target for this session. if I could catch up to him and overtake him, then that was my personal goal achieved, because he was setting lap times faster than me, and I wanted to see if I could navigate the traffic better than he could. What's certainly slowing me down is when we hit big clumps of traffic like this. Now, I get a lovely speed boost off of the grip paint, but there are now 4 carts on this ramp. I look for the gap on the outside, and this guy kind of gets squeezed out in between me and the guy in front of me. The other guy just sort of sends me wide, but still gives me enough room to actually race on the track, so I managed to get past all of those guys. The guy in front of me gets black flagged and decides to slow down as a sign of his overwhelming sorrow or something, so I just decide to stay cautious just in case he suddenly brakes or does something silly. You know, he has just been black flagged. Who knows what he's been black flagged for? So he goes into the pits, I find my way past, and then I start catching up to this guy, who actually had the wherewithal to use the paint. But it hasn't stopped me from dive bombing him anyway. That was a nice move, actually.
That was a nice move.
I just said that. One of the more amusing aspects of arrive and drive sessions like this is you're not sometimes ready for how slow the drivers are in front of you. I've just accidentally nudged the back of this individual who is going much, much slower than I anticipated, which led to this quite awkward interaction. But now, though, look at all this clean air and free space we've got. Now we're going to try a hot lap. So we come sailing through this double apex here. Never mind! Whew, sorry about that. I just wanted to get that out of my system. Anyway, let's get going again. There's a lot of people clustered up on this ramp, and I still can't see the guy that my target was. I try and slot it down the inside. Might have been a little bit naughty from me because I do kind of force 2 people out the way. This guy actually pulls off a switchback on me. I try and go for the inside. He doesn't see me on the inside, doesn't leave any space, and kind of just blocks me out. To be fair, that was kind of good defensive driving, but he does just go deep into that corner there, effectively handing me the inside line to this big sweeping right, and just up ahead of me is my target for this session, so maybe there's still hope that I can catch up. And sure enough, a few laps later, there's our man right there, being severely held up by a very defensive guy right there. So that means I'm able to close up a ridiculous amount of distance because he just can't find his way through because he's holding the central lines and basically parking himself on all the apexes. This puts me bumper to bumper with the guy. He's clearly getting a little bit frustrated by this, but he tries for an overtake on the inside, but kind of has to slow himself down, but he still has the inside line, which means he's able to overtake the guy on my left with ease. But he gets in front of this guy to my right, who then kind of holds me up, but I just managed to squeeze through, which means I did a decent job at following him through. But now we're in the middle of a very large cluster of people. The guy in the colored helmet goes around the outside, kind of gets forced wide by the guy in front of him, which means I'm still behind him, and there's still an opportunity coming through this next corner. I get the inside line, but I'm held up by this guy in front of me, who loses it in front of me, effectively killing any and all hopes I had of overtaking the guy. But even if I did, the session had just ended, so that was my one and only chance. Ah well. Time for session 2. Now this session has fortunately started me directly behind my target this time, so all I need to do this time is make sure that I stay close to him, follow him through whenever he gets overtakes on people, and maybe, just maybe, find that golden opportunity to get by. I've also just noticed that he's cart number 11, and I was chasing a cart number 11 the last time I was here. Memories. My best opportunity so far has come in the form of this right here, where he finds the inside line going through this corner. He's on the inside, which means he's got a slower entry, but the guy I'm behind slows down, effectively blocking me off and meaning he can just sail straight through again. Which is unfortunate, but it didn't mean that I lost too much time that I'm starting to fall behind him. I'm sticking to his tail. I'm sure I'll find way by in a moment. I continue my chase as we head towards the grip paint of the track, and you might notice that I take a little bit more of the grip paint than he does. I try and throw it down the inside, but the guy in front of me loses the back end, and I basically just bump into the side of him, basically saving him from a spin, but granting myself the inside line to finally get the overtake done on the guy in the colourful helmet there. I really wish I could have got it done in a cleaner circumstance, but, well, I just got 2 overtakes done right there. Let's see if I can get this guy in front of me. But as we head towards the pit straight, someone is nose first in the barrier. Apparently they forgot how to turn, so the red flag comes out. I'm watching the guy in front of me, trying to stop a bit close to him, so I coast a little bit further than I probably should have.
You cheeky
And he just takes the opportunity to head straight up the ramp. Technically, I don't really have a right to complain here because I did just continue going for pretty much an entire straight, so we're kind of both in the wrong here. Don't do what I just did, but definitely don't do what he just did. One lap later, though, I've caught up to the back of him here, and his rather oversteer-heavy entry into corners means he's jeopardizing his own speed, which means he gets some horrendous understeer coming through this corner. I just slip down the inside. I brake just in time to make sure that I don't ram the person in front of me, but I get more speed going down the down ramp. Carefully avoid plowing into the back of this individual here, overtake them around the outside, and then cut to the inside just before the grip paint part of the track to get a lovely little combo of overtakes done.
Well, that was a nice little combo.
Again, that's what I just said. Now I've got a little bit of space to actually try and put a lap together. The upstairs corners of the track are probably the easiest because there's a lot of traction and it's a lot easier to work with because the kart is very responsive on this surface. But the down ramp is still a bit of an area of concern for me. I oversteer on the entry of that corner and understeer on the entry of this one, even though my apex and exits were just fine. We come up to the grip paint, I put my wheels on it to get a lovely little speed boost and help tighten up my entry into this corner, and you really thought, nope, we're doing another red flag. I ain't gonna get a lap together today. I shouldn't complain. I signed up for this. It's fun. I'm still having fun. I'm pretty sure that right there was me fighting my own demons, trying not to convince myself to just try and overtake those two on the yellows, because I'm not that entitled, but it would have made things a lot easier for me. But I managed to get in between them. This guy's very oversteery driving style is kind of really unpredictable to read, and I just nudge the back of him because he's really tight on the apex in both the entry and the exit. It makes for a really unreadable and confusing driving style to fight, and he's absolutely wrestling with that steering wheel. Let's get an instant replay on that. What on earth is he doing? But of course, he goes wide enough to basically just let me straight through on the inside, which means once again, I've got a little bit of clean space in front of me. Now, long-time viewers of the channel will know of a mistake that I keep referring to as the Perico Special, where I slam myself sideways into a barrier. But right here is the first recorded instance of me being able to use it as an overtaking tactic.
That was a trick. That was the first time the Perico Special was worked out in my favour.
I would not recommend trying to use this as a trick yourself. That was an accident, I just thought it was funny. Now, this right here is one of my least favorite kinds of kart drivers. This individual here is on the inside line, brakes incredibly sharply, and basically parks on the apex, holding the inside line. And then they do the exact same thing for the next corner, which basically jeopardizes my exit speed. These people are really hard to get by because they'll hold the inside of every corner and basically plant themselves on the apex so you can't get by. I can't find the gap coming through this big sweeping part here, but they leave just enough of a space that I go for a rather risky overtake here, but I just really need to get past that person, otherwise they are just going to hold me up. Here's a lovely little 2-for-1 for you. I'm following these two through the double apex on the top floor, and as we approach the down ramp, I get this guy around the outside, and then get the other guy on the inside, close them out with a particularly careful exit, make sure that I give them enough space on my exit, and those are the overtakes secured. This is one of the more interesting bumps I've ever seen. This guy comes through the down ramp corner, kicks his back end out, and basically has a back end to back end contact with the guy in front of him. That, unfortunately for him and the guy in front of him, leaves enough space for me to basically capitalize and shoot straight through. Just so I can enjoy the grip paint one more time, because man, it really does change the entire dynamic of the lap. Let's have another little combo, shall we? So we're basically coming up as a pack of 4, basically 2 by 2 here, which means the 2 people on my outside have basically been shafted. They're not going to get the inside line, so I follow number 29 here straight through, who inexplicably goes quite wide and essentially allows me the inside line to go through 3 people in the span of 1 corner. Then I'm following this individual here who's not really putting up that much of a fight. I go for the inside line, get the overtake done, leave them plenty of space, and yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote for session 2, so let's pull back into the pits, and then we'll cut straight to session 3, because I'm impatient. Now, I'm going to be completely blunt and honest with you here. This session is going to be a bit less eventful than the 2 sessions before it because we were specifically told by the marshals that they were going to be even stricter this time to avoid incidents. They were going to black flag anything serious they saw. I make a mistake exiting that corner, and this guy here makes an even bigger mistake going into the corner. I'm a bit frayed nerves, honestly, because I know that the marshals are going to be hawk-eyeing every single move because they want to be a bit stricter just to make sure there are no incidents, the carts all stay in good shape, because this place was really overbooked today. That doesn't mean this session was completely incident-free by any means, because as I come sailing down the down ramp, there's a big old pack here, including this guy who's just basically planted himself directly into the apex and is going to need to be rescued. Oh, I love public sessions. But now we've got a big old pack of people to get through all at once, and this guy on my inside has been rather interesting to drive against because he just decides to brake check me in this corner here. But a lap later, as I'm following these 3 towards the grip paint, I decide to go a little bit wider than everyone, basically slingshotting myself to the inside line at this hairpin here, granting myself a nice and easy double overtake. Hey, do you guys like red flags? Well, I've got a treat for you. Here's another one. They happen so often, man. It's kind of fascinating how often red flags happen. As I'm tailing this guy here, there's someone at the bottom of the ramp who's going to give us a fantastic tutorial on why you should get off the throttle while cornering. Now let's get 2 more overtakes done before I call quits on session 3. So this guy is on my inside, and I've got a little bit more pace than him, but he's kind of just forcing me wide as we're coming through this big sweeping right here. So I decide to just cut to the inside to overtake him at turn 1. And now let's see if I can get anything done with this guy. I follow him through turn 2. He goes a bit wide. I look for the inside, but I can't find it. So instead, I cut to the outside, get the overtake done around the outside, going towards the down ramp. And yeah, other than that terrible exit coming out of that corner, that's pretty much all that happened in session 3, so let's pull into the pits, and I will give you my closing thoughts on what has changed around this place and how I feel about it. You've now reached the part of the video that only the cool kids watch, the part where I yap a bit and share my thoughts, and I've got a few to share about Team Sport Stoke. I had fun. A lot of fun, actually. It's unbelievable how much more enjoyable the track has become now that the surface is a lot more rubbered in than it was before, and there's that strip of grip paint helping to keep the pace up. It seems like such a minute change on the surface, but honestly, it's a game changer. Team Sport Stoke's biggest weakness, of course, continues to be its current fleet of carts, which honestly predate Emperor Caligula, but word on the grapevine is that a fleet of blue biz carts with the boost button are coming here soon, and I imagine that's going to be a huge change. There is still hope for this place, and I think that that new fleet is going to help elevate Team Sport Stoke into something special. I'll be coming here a lot more often now because there's a PB I want to chase down, and I really did enjoy myself here. The next video, by the way, is going to be a Team Sport Leicester race, and it's going to be a rather special one because I believe the entire grid is composed of me and my subscribers. Sounds like a good time. Until next time.